here's my review of What If Season 2, Episode 4. This episode is pretty fun. I mean, it's basically Mario Kart, but with Marvel. And what I mean by that is this is like a what if episode. It's the episode's like, what if Tony got abandoned on Sakaar or whatever. It's a weird concept. There's a bunch of weird stuff, but it's basically like right after like the Avengers 2012 battle, but instead like what if that portal closed before Tony fell back out, and then he kind of transports to like this to Sakaar and where he meets the Grandmaster. And if I sound like I'm just kind of explaining this really fast, because this is a very fast-paced episode, it really feels like, I think that's one of the problems with this show, even though I think this show is fun, is it feels very fast-paced. Like, we don't really get that much stuff. Like, he immediately, like, travels to Sakaar, and then he meets the Grandmaster, who's, once again, played by Jeff Goldblum, and, I mean, he's hilarious. Like, Jeff Goldblum is just funny in everything he's in, and he was great here. And as well as Gamora is also in this episode, so it's that mixed with a team-up, mixed with Mario Kart. And it was a lot of fun. I thought it was just a lot of fun to watch. Like, just essentially just this race between these Marvel characters. And it was really cool because, I mean, I like how also in this episode you get to see how, I mean, smart Tony really is. I mean, like, how he's just, because he is a mechanic as well. Like, how he builds these cars and, like, with these foreign substances, and he's able to build these racing cars. And it's a lot of fun. I mean, like I said, it's Mario Kart, but with Marvel. And it was a blast. And the main thing is just all run by the Grandmaster of Jeff Goldblum. And it's very predictable in a way. And there's also like this mini rivalry between Tony and Gamora. At this point, Gamora was still working for Thanos. And then they kind of eventually, like, you know, they butt heads until they eventually kind of come together. And it's just a lot of fun. Like, in this episode, like, Tony, of course, wins. But then, like, Grandmaster's like, oh, well, because I'm in charge, I automatically pick myself as a winner, so it doesn't matter. And, I mean, of course, it's just one of those things. And then they use, like, that melting stick just to kill him really quick. And it's, like, the whole thing just feels really, really rapid. And then, what I like about this, though, is I think the setup, although it sounds silly, I think the dynamic between Tony and Gamora works very well here because, I mean, they're not necessarily similar. I mean, but I don't know what it is. Like, I could be wrong. I don't think these characters have ever interacted in the main MCU. I'm like, yeah, I don't think that they have. So it was just very cool, like, seeing this different interaction, though. And it's just really interesting of this dynamic because Tony also talks about, like, some of his problems with alcohol, which, of course, is, like, a major comic storyline in the comics. But, I mean, like, they never really did that into the MCU. They kind of, like, talk a little bit about that. And, like, how he's talking about how Gamora is, like, a slave to her father. And it's just these really cute, you know, nice little interactions that make these episodes fun. And I thought that this is, like, a perfect example of an episode of, like, I would say it might be the best one. It's just quite a bit of fun. But even though I think that the show overall, throughout these 2 seasons, have really kind of dropped the ball on the potential of what this could be, I thought that this did a very good job of just showing us a very interesting concept of something that's just so weird and wacky. I mean, Tony and Gamora on Sakaar doing Mario Kart, like, that's essentially what this is, and it works. And it's just a really fun concept. I mean, I don't think that, like, I think one of the problems, though, with these episodes is some of them, they're kind of maybe lacking, like, the heart that the main MCU has. But I still think that this has a good enough message, especially, like, when Tony talks about his father. It's very nice just to see that, and just a lot of these, you know, fun banter between these characters, which make it fun. And although it is very predictable, and because these episodes are structured in a way where, like, this could be a full movie. Like, if you really, it would be cool. I mean, but, like, they're structured in a way to basically tell a movie storyline within the length of a TV show. And that's why it kind of feels off. It just feels, not off, but rushed. Is like, this whole premise is very cool, but a lot of it just feels rushed. And that's one of the problems with these episodes and this show as a whole. But, so even though I enjoyed this episode, I'm like, man, I just wish it was a little bit longer, which is a good thing. I mean, I'm asking for more, but at the same time, it just shows that, and it's not that it's because it's too, like, it is, but it isn't, because shows can be like 30, 20 minutes and still tell complete beginning, middle, and end perfectly. That has happened with, like, hundreds of cartoons, and whether it's live action shows, but for some reason, I don't think that this show can do it, where they're kind of, a lot of it just feels rushed because of it. Even though, like I said, I enjoyed this episode and I love just the interactions between. It's just a weird and wacky of a premise. So, like I said, I enjoyed it, but I just wish it was longer. But, I mean, yeah, like I said, overall, I had a lot of fun with this episode. I thought it was just so weird and wacky. It's Mario Kart, but with Marvel, it's Marvel Kart. And it's just a lot of fun, you know? And it's just kind of cool, like, just these big little interactions. Especially, like I said, like, in terms of, there does have enough emotion, or not necessarily make emotion, just these little cute little moments where, whether it's Tony talking about, like, Pepper and maybe his alcoholism, where it's just kind of cute. It's very wholesome and nice to hear about. Like, just, it makes it feel more down to earth. And I think that this was a really fun episode. So yeah, I thought it was pretty good.